Come with us as we recap a mysterious serial killer in New York. Lincoln Ryme is a forensic criminologist and the head of the New York City Investigation Department. Ryme has written several investigative books, gained notoriety throughout New York, and is also connected to the conviction of a former cop. 4 years earlier, while investigating a death in a tunnel, a falling piece of concrete strikes him. This horrifying accident leaves him paralyzed from the neck down, and Ryme wakes up in a hospital bed, forced to adjust to life as a quadriplegic. Honestly, anyone would still marry this fine-ass man, even if he paralyzed. Meanwhile, at the airport, a man named Alan Rubin, a prominent New York builder, waits with his wife, Lindsay. Alan expresses his frustration about their driver, who has failed to pick them up. Lindsay tries to calm him, suggesting they take a taxi home. Unfortunately, their plans take a dark turn when a killer who is posing as a cab driver picks up the couple and kidnaps them. This is why I use Uber. Nurse Thelma arrives to check on Ryme. She notices he is dehydrated and insists on getting him some juice to help. But homeboy wants some vodka. As Ryme drinks his juice, he engages in conversation with his medical technician, Richard Thompson. Richard informs him that his heart monitor is faulty and that he needs a new one. Ryme sarcastically responds, saying what he really needs is a new body. Richard, unable to help with that, reassures Ryme that he will bring the new monitor the next day. Shortly after, Dr. Barry Lehman, Ryme's personal doctor and friend, arrives to discuss Ryme's request for assisted suicide. As they talk, Ryme expresses his frustration, not being able to do anything. He worries that the seizures are occurring more frequently and that fluid is building up in his spine, worsening his degenerative condition. Both men understand that Ryme is anxiously awaiting the seizure that could render him a vegetable. Ryme, however, emphatically states that he does not want to endure such an existence, and he wishes to make his final transition on his own terms. After much pleading, a sad Dr. Barry promises to assist Ryme in his final departure when he returns from a medical conference on Sunday, despite Ryme's desire for it to happen immediately. Meanwhile, Amelia Donaghy, a police officer, faces personal turmoil. Her boyfriend wishes for a deeper commitment, but she refuses, explaining that she cares so much about him, but she cannot make that commitment. Honestly, I'd be a simp for Angelina Jolie too. Later, Amelia receives a call about a frightened child near the Amtrak site. She rushes to the scene, where she finds the kid and confirms he was the one who called the police. As she investigates the area, she discovers the victim, Alan Rubin. He is buried under the rocks, dead, with a missing finger and his hand sticking out of the ground, adorned with his wife's wedding band. Nearby, she finds a pile of sand, a note, and a bolt on the railroad tracks. Just then, a train approaches, and Amelia swiftly stops it to preserve the evidence. Once the train stops, Amelia notices it's about to rain. She approaches the child and she introduces herself. She asks him to help her buy a cardboard camera. When the kid returns with the camera, she photographs everything, including a nearby footprint. Meanwhile, Lindsay Rubin is dragged by the killer through underground tunnels, handcuffed to pipes and gagged. Shortly after, police captain Howard Cheney and a guy named Kenneth Solomon arrive at the crime scene. Howard reprimands Amelia for stopping the train to preserve evidence, leaving her feeling disheartened. Just another fugly guy displaying his dominance. At Ryme's house, Detective Paulie Salito, aka Jay Pritchett, and Kenneth Solomon visit him to explain the crime details from Amelia's investigations. Alan Rubin's wife's wedding band was on his finger, which was stripped to the bone. Lincoln believes it is a case of kidnapping. While they talk, Ryme suddenly experiences a seizure, prompting Nurse Thelma to rush in and stabilize him with medication. Moments later, as Ryme regains his composure, he asks Nurse Thelma to help him load the photos brought by Salito into a viewer for examination. As he surveys the images, he notices a newspaper, prompting him to inquire about its significance. Thelma informs him it is a newspaper found beneath a cross-thread clipping from 1913 with 4 p.m. circled. Additionally, there is a small piece of paper from a torn book page showing the number 119, which Ryme realizes is today's date, November 9th. Shortly after, Amelia and Solomon arrive at Ryme's house. After exchanging pleasantries, Ryme compliments Amelia on her photography skills and remarks that she possesses a natural instinct for forensics. Then he goes on to ask Paulie what the investigation reveals. Paulie replies that the investigation reveals a foot-sized 10 asbestos on a track bed where there shouldn't be any, an iron bolt holding down a piece of paper, a book page with 119 written on it, and decaying oxidation on the bolt's head, but not on the thread. Ryme feels convinced that the crime scene is staged and that the killer is trying to communicate something. He believes that the book page number 119 and the time refer to the current day's date. He goes on to explain that Lindsay is alive and the killer is going to kill her at 4 p.m. Ryme then asks Amelia to help with the case. She refuses at first, stating it is not her area of specialization, but she eventually agrees to join after much persuasion from Ryme. Shortly thereafter, the crime technician Eddie Ortiz arrives and sets up his lab. Howard comes in and is told by Ryme that Amelia did a good job preserving the evidence. That's right, fugly white whore. While everyone is focused on the investigation, Eddie finds a scrap of very old paper on the bolt. The sand appears to be ground up oyster shells. Immediately, Ryme recalls a police case from 1913 where a body was found in crushed oyster shells in downtown Manhattan, near the Woolworth building. He suspects that Lindsay could be there. Ryme asks Amelia to investigate the area, telling her to trust him and follow her instincts every step of the way. As Amelia and Ryme's detective crew drive to the place, they talk about Ryme's passion for collecting a wide range of items and examining them, along with how he has refused contact with his family. A typical client on TLC's Hoarders. Somewhere in the area, the killer is loosening another bolt from a steam pipe. He swings the pipe around so it faces Lindsay Rubin. Meanwhile, Ryme figures out that steam pipes in that area release steam at 4 p.m. every day. He instructs Amelia to put on a radio headset and go into the steam tunnels. While they are in the tunnel, Amelia hears Mrs. Rubin scream, but she cannot reach her because the steam cutoff has been tampered with. Shortly after, Lindsay gets a steam facial to get rid of her pores. Afterwards, a demolition team blows the tunnel open, and Amelia goes in. She describes the scene to Ryme over the radio, but she becomes frightened when she sees Lindsay's body. Ryme encourages her, telling her to get the camera. As she looks around, she finds a piece of wood, hair clippings, and a bone shard. Ryme instructs her to photograph and bag the evidence. She also informs Ryme that Lindsay was bound with old-fashioned shackles and has a surgical-style wound on her forearm. Ryme then asks her to saw off Lindsay's hands at the wrist to preserve the perpetrator's fingerprints on the cuffs, but she refuses and decides to go home. Later, Ryme searches for Amelia's profile online and discovers that her father was a cop who committed suicide, and she was the one who found his body. This explains why she could not complete the task in the tunnel. In the middle of the night, someone knocks on Amelia's door, and her dumbass goes to check it out. Luckily, it was just the goofy white boy Solomon. Moments later, at a nightclub, a New York University student gets into a cab to go home. Sometime later, Ryme discovers that a witness saw the student struggling with the driver. The taxi driver brings the student, bound and gagged, to an abandoned structure where he tortures him. Meanwhile, Ryme's investigative team finds that the bone fragments from the crime scene were from a cow, with more old newspaper embedded in it, and the hair found is shaved rat hair. Amelia speculates that the perpetrator might be a cop, because I guess cops are fat cows and have rat behavior. Ryme then instructs the team to look for old stockyards and slaughterhouses. Meanwhile, Thelma tells Ryme that his body temperature is rising, but he does not listen, claiming that his body has a mind of its own. Later, Ryme sends a team to one of the old slaughterhouses, decommissioned in 1898 after much investigation. When they arrive, Amelia goes in first to describe the scene. While that's going on, Paulie calls Ryme to express his bad feeling about Amelia, but Ryme dismisses him. The team works to keep the New York police from contaminating the scene. Amelia discovers the student's body, dead from rat bites, and is horrified to see he is missing a chunk of flesh from his leg. She finds a matchbox and a piece of old paper. Shortly after, Cheney arrives at the crime scene and announces he is taking Ryme off the case. He orders a cop to call Ortiz and tells him to vacate Ryme's house immediately, but Ryme tells Ortiz to continue the research. At Cheney's office, his team uncovers a fingerprint matching a taxi driver with a record, but they find out he is dead, missing a finger. Later, Amelia brings the evidence from the crime scene of the New York University student from Cheney's office to Ryme. Ortiz also provides information on old cases of unsolved homicides where flesh is similarly missing. After Ryme smells the paper Amelia brought, she thinks it's gasoline, these two getting awfully close. He realizes that each old homicide contains a message that no one has noticed. Shortly after this, while Amelia and Ryme are working on the investigation, Ryme has another seizure and passes out, but stabilizes. Queef Latifah informs Amelia about Ryme's request for assisted suicide, and just then Captain Howard Cheney knocks on the door, insisting he wants to see Ryme. Thelma dismisses him, and he vows to return with a warrant. I don't trust that whitey. As Amelia waits for Ryme to wake up, she checks out his old badge, awards, and photos. As she touches Ryme's hand, he wakes up. Oh, Mr. Denzel really liked that. Later in an airport, a grandfather and his granddaughter get into a taxi. Shortly after, a taxi inspector pulls the taxi over, and the taxi driver kills him and drives off as the little girl screams. Paulie receives the report and calls Ryme to inform him about the taxi incident. Ryme examines the paper clippings with Amelia and Thelma, and he uncovers a logo from an old book publisher. Amelia then goes to a bookstore and finds a book called The Bone Collector, which contains stories exactly like the murders already committed. Ryme believes the odd smell coming from the paper connects to an old diesel refueling station on Staten Island. Amelia decides to go to find the station. Upon reaching there, she discovers 2 victims tied to a post and drowning. The man is dead, but the girl is alive. Amelia begins searching for clues and finds a map, a bone, and a piece of metal that resembles a cop's badge. The map shows an old subway route, and Ryme suspects the killer is at the southernmost station. While Cheney arrives, Amelia sneaks off to the station Ryme described. There she notices footprints in the abandoned station, and she finds a train numbered 78499. She tries to remember this number and realizes it matches Ryme's old badge number, which she saw at his house. Moments later, the killer arrives at Ryme's house and murders both Thelma and Police Captain Howard Cheney. The killer is revealed to be Richard Thompson, the medical technician responsible for Ryme's medical equipment. Richard's real name is Marcus Andrews, a former forensics expert who was convicted when an article written by Ryme exposed him for planting evidence that led to the wrongful imprisonment of 6 innocent people, one of whom hanged himself. Holding on to the delusion that he was right to imprison those people, Marcus blames Ryme for his imprisonment and the abuse he suffered during his time in jail. Marcus says he was used as a human toilet, a human dump. He has plotted to humiliate Ryme by challenging him in a game of wits before killing him. In a desperate moment, Ryme manages to crush Marcus's hand in his medical bed and further injures him by biting his neck. Just as Marcus is about to stab Ryme to death, Amelia arrives and shoots Marcus dead. The following Christmas, Ryme, having abandoned his plans for suicide, meets his sister and niece who come to visit him, along with Amelia and his other colleagues. Wow, what a slower than usual movie. Denzel did great in this one. Not being able to walk and talk with hands must be difficult. I just know I need all of that for fapping. What did y'all think?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.